You are listening to Wolf on 45th, written by D.N. Leo, narrated by Jessica Lee. She's dangling 45 stories above Manhattan, breaking into a penthouse when she realizes two things. 1. The billionaire is home. 2. He's her fated mate. The universe has a sick sense of humor. Kaeden Hawke is the alpha she's supposed to claim tonight, the one her soul recognized the instant their eyes met. But she's a rogue with a warrant, a dead mother's pendant, and 4 hours before her old pack drags her back to face execution. Oh, and she's terrified of heights. Literally shaking, can't breathe, vision blurring, terrified. Yet here she is, climbing. Then there's the guinea pig, Safety Marshal Sterling, OSHA-certified disaster, who thinks he's running this operation. Plot twist. He might be. This is what happens when fate, fear, and felony collide. When a woman who's been running finally stops. When an alpha discovers the thief in his office is the one thing he can't let go. There's an art heist, a gala in work boots, 7 countries worth of secrets, and a love that starts with shattered glass and ends with, well, you'll have to listen to find out. If you crave fated mates with bite, heroines who climb even when they're terrified, and romance that's equal parts swoon and chaos, this is your next obsession. This is an original story, written exclusively for the audience of this channel. The only way to support this channel is to like, share, and comment below. Your engagement will help this warm-hearted shifter romance with lots of heart and laughter keep coming. Want your story idea featured next? Comment below. D.N. Leo reads every comment you write. Also, as requested by many of you, yes, there is a laugh-worthy bonus chapter for you. It's Marshall's complete TED Talk transcript, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Link in the description and pinned in the first comment below. Now let's begin. Chapter 1. The fall 45 floors of glass and steel stretched below Sable's boots. The wind screamed past her ears, whipping her braid against her safety harness. Her fingers locked around the rope so tight her knuckles had gone bone white beneath her work gloves. "The wind seems stronger today," she said through clenched teeth. A small brown head popped out of her chest pocket. Safety. Marshal Sterling's whiskers twitched as he surveyed the situation with the gravity of a general assessing a battlefield. "Fascinating observation," Marshal said. His tiny paw patted her collarbone. "Did you know that wind speed increases approximately 3% per floor in urban environments? At this elevation, we're experiencing what meteorologists call the, 'oh God, why are we up here' phenomenon." Very technical term. Despite the terror clawing at her throat, Sable's mouth twitched. "Also," Marshall continued, scrambling up to perch on her shoulder, "there's a statistical anomaly I find particularly comforting. You're more likely to be struck by lightning, attacked by a vending machine, and win the lottery in the same day than to fall from a properly secured Marshall's harness system that meets OSHA regulation 1926.502, subsection. Marshall, I need the penguin story." "Ah, excellent choice." He settled himself more comfortably, his small weight warm against her neck. "So there was this penguin in Antarctica, stay with me here, who was absolutely terrified of water. Imagine that, a penguin. It's like being a bird afraid of air, or a guinea pig afraid of motivational speaking. Is this going somewhere?" The penguin's name was Gerald the anxious penguin. His therapist suggested, yes, penguins have therapists, it's a very progressive colony, that he try small steps, just dipping a toe in. But one day, Gerald's friend Brenda accidentally pushed him off an ice shelf during an argument about krill distribution. Sable's breathing had started to even out. The crushing weight on her chest loosened by increments. "And you know what happened?" Marshall's voice dropped to a dramatic whisper. "Gerald discovered he was the best swimmer in the entire colony, won 3 gold medals at the Antarctic Games, published a memoir, From Ice to Isolation, One Penguin's Journey. It's very inspiring. I'm using similar themes in my book. Gerald isn't real. He's metaphorically real, Sable, which is the deepest kind of real. When I give my TED Talk, Sable exhaled slowly. A laugh bubbled up despite everything. The panic had retreated to its usual corner of her mind, contained but never gone. Thanks, Marshall. That's what I'm here for. Well, that and OSHA compliance. Speaking of which, you owe me chocolate. Later. You always say later. I'm keeping a running tab, with interest. She loosened her death grip on the rope and reached for her squeegee. 2 more panels to clean on this floor, then she could descend to the lower level. 44 levels until she could stop pretending her heart wasn't trying to punch through her rib cage. I should get a different suppressant, she thought, dragging the squeegee across the glass in smooth, practiced strokes. This one makes the acrophobia worse. There's got to be something better that doesn't cost 3 months' rent. I can hear your inner monologue, you know, Marshall said from her shoulder. The expensive suppressant thought? Totally agree. This bargain basement wolf suppressant is doing you 0 favors. You're basically white-knuckling through life at 45 floors. It's very bad for your blood pressure. I read a study. Something inside the building made a sound like a giant clearing its throat, a deep mechanical groan that vibrated through the glass against Sable's palm. The rope jerked, stopped. Her stomach dropped to street level without her. Marshall? Her voice came out smaller than she wanted. Ah. Marshall's claws dug into her jumpsuit. That's not good. She thumbed the control on her harness. Nothing. The rope mechanism that should carry her up or down the building's face had gone completely dead. Marshall, we're stuck. I can see that, very observant. Your situational awareness is... Sable, don't look down. She'd already looked down. 45 floors of empty air yawned beneath her boots. The street was a distant river of cars and people the size of ants. Her vision tunneled. The edges of the world went fuzzy and dark. Story time! Marshall's voice went up an octave. New story, better story. There was once a very brave woman who... Her hand slipped on the glass. The movement yanked her safety line. Something cold and metallic snapped against her collarbone. The pendant. Her mother's pendant. The chain broke. Sable watched, frozen, helpless, as the silver pendant tumbled through the air. It hit the scaffolding below with a tiny ping that shouldn't have been audible over the wind, but was somehow the loudest sound in the world. Bounced, rolled toward the corner office's private balcony a few feet below. Disappeared through the open door. No! The word ripped from her throat. No, no, no. Sable, whatever you're thinking, don't. She was already unclipping her safety line. Sable! Marshall dug his claws in deep enough to draw blood through her jumpsuit. OSHA Regulation 1926.502 explicitly states that under no circumstances should a worker... I need that pendant. Her hand shook as she secured a new anchor point. It's all I have of her, Marshall. I know. His small body pressed against her neck. I know, okay. Okay, we're doing this. We're absolutely violating every safety protocol I hold dear, but we're doing this. She swung herself horizontal, using her legs to push off from the building's face. The harness dug into her ribs. The wind caught her like a pendulum, slamming her back against the glass hard enough to rattle her teeth. Amitabha Buddha, Amitabha Buddha, Marshall chanted. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme. Are you praying? Yes, in Cambodian, or maybe Vietnamese. I'm flexible in my spiritual outreach during crisis situations. Using multiple languages increases our statistical probability of divine intervention by, swing again. She pulled back and launched herself toward the balcony. Her fingers caught the railing. The metal was sun-warm against her palms, solid and real and blessedly horizontal. She hauled herself over, collapsed onto the balcony floor. Safe. Mostly safe. At least she was on something that wasn't actively swaying. Marshall popped his head up from her pocket. Well, that was traumatic. I'm adding that to Chapter 6 of my book, Facing Your Fears, A Guinea Pig's Guide to Not Dying. Marshall. I'm workshopping the title. The open door beckoned. Cool, conditioned air rolled out from the office beyond, carrying the scent of leather and expensive coffee and something darker. Something that made the wolf she'd been suppressing for 2 years lift its head and pay attention. The office was massive, floor-to-ceiling windows on 3 walls, each one showing a different slice of the city. The furniture was modern but warm, rich mahogany desk, chairs that probably cost more than her van, built-in bookshelves lined with actual books instead of the weird glass sculptures rich people usually displayed. But it was the art that stopped her. A Rothko print, no, original, her art student brain whispered, dominated one wall. Deep blues bleeding into purples, the kind of piece that either looked like nothing or looked like everything, depending on who was viewing it. She used to stand in front of paintings like this for hours during her brief, bright stint at art school, before everything had fallen apart. "He has good taste," she murmured. "He has chocolate." Marshall's nose twitched violently. Sable, I can smell it. There's chocolate in this office somewhere." "Later. You keep saying later. Do you know how many laters you owe me? I'm up to 47 laters. That's statistically. Help me find the pendant and I'll buy you the fancy Belgian stuff." Marshall's eyes went wide. "The dark chocolate with the sea salt?" "Yes." "Deal." He scrambled out of her pocket and down her arm, landing on the polished hardwood floor with a tiny thump. "Let's find this thing. I'm thinking under the desk." Things roll toward expensive furniture. It's a law of physics I'm considering naming after myself. Sable dropped to her hands and knees. The floor was spotless, not a speck of dust, no stray papers, nothing but gleaming wood and the faint scent of lemon polish. She crawled toward the desk, running her hands along the floor, searching for the cool touch of silver. Marshall disappeared under an armchair. "Not here, checking behind the credenza." "Marshall, that's not—" Voices in the hallway, male, deep, getting closer. Sable froze. "Can't believe the gala's in a few hours and the electronic system is down," the first voice said. "Perfect timing. Now we know how much we take electricity for granted." The second voice held a note of dry amusement. "I'll use the time to get some work done." "Same. I'll be in the conference room if you need me." Footsteps retreated. One set kept coming. Toward this office, toward her. Sable looked around frantically. The desk was glass and chrome, nowhere to hide. The balcony was behind her, but climbing back out would make noise. Marshall was still under the armchair, completely visible if someone looked down. The door swung open. "You can come out now," the voice said, rich and dark as the Rothko on the wall. "I can see your boots." Sable closed her eyes, took a breath, crawled out from behind the desk, and looked up into the face of the most beautiful man she'd ever seen. Dark hair pushed back like he'd been running his hands through it. Sharp jaw, eyes the color of amber in sunlight, currently fixed on her with an expression somewhere between annoyed and intrigued. He wore a suit that probably cost more than her van, her equipment, and 6 months of rent combined, and he wore it like he'd been born in it. Her wolf, her suppressed, medicated, thoroughly controlled wolf, lifted its head and screamed, "Mine." The word echoed through her skull with the force of a physical blow. Her suppressant should have made this impossible. She'd taken double the dose this morning specifically to avoid situations like this. But her wolf didn't care about doses or suppressants or the fact that Sable's entire life was built on staying invisible. Mine, mine, mine. And worse, so much worse, his eyes flashed gold for just a moment. His nostrils flared. The careful neutrality of his expression cracked, showing something raw and shocked and hungry underneath. His wolf had answered. She could see the exact moment he felt it. The way his hands clenched at his sides, the muscle that jumped in his jaw, the way he took an involuntary step back like he'd been shoved. Then his face went carefully blank, professional, cold. He didn't want this. Didn't want her. Good, she didn't want this either. Couldn't want this. Her voice came out rough. She cleared her throat, got to her feet. "I lost something. I'm looking for something." His gaze dropped to her hand. to the pendant chain still wrapped around her fingers, broken clasp dangling. "You're looking for something you've lost in my office." He tilted his head slightly. "Yet I don't recall we've met before." "I'm looking for a pendant. It belonged to my mother. Let's say I'm searching for a logical explanation of how your mother's pendant ended up in my office in the first place." He moved toward his desk, each step deliberate. "The elevators aren't working at the moment because the system's down. So you climbed 45 floors to retrieve a pendant?" "I was already at 45. She gestured vaguely toward the balcony. "I'm a window cleaner. The pendant fell. I just need to grab it, and I'll get out of your way." He didn't move, didn't step aside to let her pass, just looked at her with those amber eyes that saw entirely too much. "What's your name? Sable?" "Fine, Sable." He leaned against the edge of his desk. "Please give me a convincing reason to believe you came from outside that balcony and you're a high-rise window cleaner." His gaze flicked toward the windows, then back to her. "You've barely glanced at the balcony or the windows since you entered. Your heart rate is elevated. I can hear it from here. Your breathing is shallow. You're exhibiting every classic symptom of severe acrophobia." His voice softened slightly. "No one with such an intense fear of heights would choose to work cleaning windows 45 floors up." She tilted her chin up, locking eyes with him. "What's your name?" "Kaeden Hawke." "Mr. Hawke, Kaeden." She waited a beat. "Kaeden, not everyone has the luxury of choosing a job that best suits them. Mine isn't ideal, but it's what I need, and I don't have to explain my life choices to you." She crossed her arms. "Convincing is an operative term. It depends on whether or not you want to believe the subject. So I don't think I have a convincing reason for you. It is what I said it is. I was cleaning the windows outside your office." The chain snapped, and the pendant rolled inside. Marshall climbed up to the top of the leather chair. "I can attest to that. Sable is telling the truth. In fact, she isn't capable of telling lies, even white lies. It's a potential weakness, I think." Kaeden stared at Marshall, then at Sable, then back at Marshall. "Your guinea pig talks." "Yes, this is Marshall, and he speaks multiple languages when nervous." "I'm Safety Marshal Sterling, and I do not get nervous," Marshall said, sitting up on his haunches with great dignity. "OSHA-certified, future best-selling author and emotional support animal. Also, I can smell chocolate in this office somewhere, and I've been promised Belgian dark chocolate with sea salt." A system hum vibrated through the building. The lights flickered once, twice, then steadied. Electricity surged back to life with the soft whoosh of air conditioning resuming. Sable looked longingly toward the balcony. Her harness had been pulled away from the railing, swinging uselessly several feet out of reach. There was no way she could get to it from here. The phone on his desk rang. Kaeden moved around the desk, picked it up. "Yes?" "Mr. Hawke, your family and Ms. Lara Winters are here. Would you like me to send them up?" A pause. His jaw tightened. "No. Bring them to the conference room on the gala level. I'll be down shortly." Another pause. 5 minutes. He hung up, looked at Sable. "Stay here, look for your pendant. I'll be back." He strode toward the door. The second his footsteps faded down the hallway, Sable's legs wanted to give out. She grabbed the edge of the desk for support. "We need to leave," she said. Her voice shook. "Now." Marshall tilted his head. "Why? We haven't found the pendant yet. It's got to be under the desk, or—" "The person meeting Kaeden right now is from my old pack." The words tumbled out fast. "The suppressant hides my scent from most wolves, but pack members can sense me if they're close enough. If they come up here, they'll know you're here." Marshall's whiskers drooped. "Oh, that's not good." "That's very not good." Sable snatched Marshall off the chair, deposited him in her pocket. "We're leaving." She bolted through the office door into a long, empty marble corridor. Her boots squeaked against the polished floor. The hallway stretched in both directions, identical doors lining both walls, and definitely no elevators that would work without an authorized swipe card. She was trapped. Marshall poked his head out of her pocket. "Sable, what's the plan here?" "Working on it." "That's not reassuring." "I know." Behind them, somewhere in the building, elevator doors chimed open. Voices drifted up from the stairwell, getting closer. Sable pressed herself against the wall, heart hammering so hard she thought it might crack a rib. A woman's laugh echoed up from the stairwell, sharp, familiar. The same laugh that had accompanied Sable to the packed tribunal 2 years ago. Lara. Marshall's claws dug into her collarbone. Sable, I know. She looked back toward Kaeden's office, toward the pendant still lost somewhere in that room, toward her mate, who didn't want her. The voices grew louder. She ran. Chapter 2. Kaeden pushed through the conference room doors and found his family already assembled. The scent of his mother's jasmine perfume hit him first, followed by the sharper notes of his father's cologne and Kate's strawberry shampoo. Familiar, comforting scents that usually settled his wolf. Today, they just made his wolf more agitated. His mother perched on the edge of a leather chair, perfectly composed in a navy dress that probably cost more than most people's cars. She was doing that thing she did, sitting like she was posing for a portrait, back straight, ankles crossed, hands folded. 25 years of alpha mate training condensed into perfect posture. His father stood by the window, hands clasped behind his back, surveying the city 42 floors below, like he owned it. Which, in several important ways, he did. The late afternoon sun caught the silver at his temples, made him look distinguished rather than old. His sister Kate bounced up from the couch, nearly spilling her iced coffee in the process. Finally, we've been waiting forever. It's been 5 minutes, Kate. Kaeden loosened his tie. The silk fabric felt too tight against his throat, like everything else today. Wrong. Constricting. 5 minutes in Kate time is an eternity. His mother rose with the grace of someone who'd spent her entire life moving through formal events. She crossed to him, pressed a kiss to his cheek. Her perfume, something French and expensive that she special ordered from Paris, made his wolf rumble with discomfort. He shoved that thought down hard. His mother pulled back, studied his face with those sharp green eyes that missed nothing. You look stressed, darling. I'm fine. You're wearing your I'm fine face, which means you're absolutely not fine. She smoothed his collar with the automatic gesture of a mother who'd been straightening her son's clothes for 30 years. Is it the gala? Because we can push it back if you need more time. No. His father's voice cut across the room like a judge's gavel. The invitations have been sent. The pack expects a decision tonight. Kate flopped back onto the couch, tucking her legs under her. Dad, you make it sound like he's picking a merger strategy instead of a life partner. In many ways, he is. Their father turned from the window, and Kaeden caught the exhaustion in his eyes, the weight of holding together a pack of 300 wolves for the past 20 years. An alpha's choice affects everyone. But it's still his choice, his mother said gently, moving back to her chair, the mediation dance she'd perfected over decades of marriage. No one is forcing you to choose Lara specifically, sweetheart. Just someone from the approved list of candidates, Kate muttered into her coffee. Very democratic. Kaeden dropped into the chair across from his sister. The leather creaked under his weight. Where is Lara, anyway? Kate's eyes lit up with barely contained glee. Last-minute dress emergency, something about the hemline being catastrophically wrong. She drew out the word catastrophically with dramatic flair. She'll be back in 20 minutes. Apparently her entire evening hinges on an extra half-inch of fabric. Catastrophically wrong, Kaeden repeated, fighting a smile. Her exact words, not mine. Kate leaned forward conspiratorially. Though I have to say, for someone who's supposedly perfect wife material, she's very high maintenance about her hemlines. Last week it was her shoes. The week before, her nail polish didn't match her clutch. She ticked off each item on her fingers. Before that, Kate. Their mother's voice carried a warning note wrapped in affection. Be kind. I am being kind. I'm just stating observable facts. Very scientific. Kate grinned. Besides, I actually like Lara. She's nice, smart, laughs at my jokes even when they're terrible. So never, Kaeden said. Kate threw a decorative pillow at him. He caught it one-handed. their father cleared his throat, the sound that meant he was about to say something important that everyone should listen to. Lara's pack represents a significant alliance opportunity. The Winters pack controls the entire northeastern territory, ports, shipping, 3 major cities. He moved away from the window, settled into the chair next to his wife. A union between our families would solidify our position for the next generation. Protect our people. Kaeden set the pillow aside, leaned back in his chair. And what role does an actual relationship play in this equation? The question hung in the air. His mother reached over, squeezed his father's hand, a quick gesture, so automatic they probably didn't realize they were doing it. His father's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Old pain, maybe, or regret. An alpha puts responsibility first. Personal preference comes second. Third, Kate muttered, sometimes fourth, definitely below maintaining trade routes and optimizing pack territory. Catherine. Kate mimed zipping her lips, but her eyes danced with mischief over the rim of her coffee cup. Kaeden's mother shifted in her seat, and he caught the subtle movement, her hand still holding his father's, fingers intertwined. 30 years of marriage, and they still reached for each other without thinking. There can be true love in arranged matches, his mother said softly. I believe that. I've seen it. Her gaze flicked to his father for just a moment. But sometimes it doesn't come at the right time, or in the way you expect. She turned to Kaeden, and her voice was gentle. Lara is a nice girl, accomplished, well-educated. She'd make a good partner. And more importantly, she wants to be with you. That counts for something. She's also gorgeous, Kate added, setting down her coffee with a decisive clink. Much better than that lawyer you dated 2 months ago. What was her name? Vanessa? Victoria? Veronica. Right, Veronica. Kate shuddered dramatically. She laughed like a hyena with bronchitis. I had nightmares. Despite everything, the mate bond pulling at his chest, the fear in Sable's eyes, the weight of tonight's expectations, Kaeden's mouth twitched. She had a distinctive laugh. Distinctive? Kate snorted. That's like calling the Titanic slightly damp. Her laugh could strip paint. Small children cried. Dogs howled in sympathy. You're exaggerating. I'm understating for politeness. Mom made me. Kate pointed at their mother. I had a whole list of adjectives prepared. Ear-splitting. Catastrophic. Potentially weaponizable. Their mother pressed her lips together, clearly fighting a smile. Kate, that's enough. Fine, fine. Kate examined her nails with exaggerated innocence. All I'm saying is Lara is a significant upgrade in the laugh department, also the personality department, and the not making Kaeden look miserable at every social event department. Kaeden leaned forward, elbows on his knees. When are you going to fulfill your duty and find your other half? Kate's casual expression flickered for just a second, something vulnerable underneath before she locked it down. It's only fair you find a match first. Oldest child privilege and all that. You get the corner office, the alpha title, and the pressure to reproduce. I get to coast on your success. That's not how it works. That's exactly how it works. I checked the pack bylaws, very thoroughly, with highlighters. She picked at the pillow fringe. Besides, someone has to be the fun aunt who teaches your future children inappropriate jokes and how to cheat at poker. Kate, their father started. A knock interrupted him. The door opened and Sean walked in, Kaeden's beta and closest friend since they were both 6 years old and had gotten into a fistfight over who got to be the Red Power Ranger. Sean had won the fight but let Kaeden be red anyway because he'd said crying didn't suit him. They'd been inseparable ever since. Sorry to interrupt. Sean's gaze swept the room with the practiced ease of someone who'd spent 2 decades navigating Hawke family dynamics. His eyes lingered on Kaeden. Need to borrow you for a minute, work thing. Kate sat up straighter, and Kaeden caught it immediately. The way her spine went rigid, the way her hand flew up to smooth her hair, the way her cheeks flushed pink beneath her foundation. Hi, Sean. Her voice came out slightly higher than normal. Hey, Kate. Sean smiled at her, easy and warm and completely oblivious. How's the gallery going? Sold any more paintings? The flush deepened to red. 3 last week. One was this amazing abstract piece that reminded me of, well, anyway, it was great. Really great. Super great, actually. The commission alone was... She cut herself off, took a breath. How are you? Can't complain. Well, I could, but your brother would probably fire me. Sean's grin was infectious. That's a nice dress, by the way. The color suits you. Kate looked down at her emerald green dress like she'd forgotten she was wearing it. Oh, thanks. It was on sale, so I thought, not that I only buy sale items, She grabbed her coffee cup like a lifeline. Thank you. Kaeden's protective older brother instincts went on high alert. He'd seen Kate flirt before, smooth, confident, completely in control. This wasn't that. This was genuine attraction mixed with nervousness, and that was dangerous territory when it involved his beta, his best friend, who was still completely oblivious. He stood up abruptly. Let's talk in my office. Sean held the door open, still smiling at Kate. See you at the gala? Yeah, definitely. Wouldn't miss it. Kate waved, then immediately looked mortified at her own enthusiasm. Their mother was watching the exchange with barely concealed interest. Their father was checking his phone, missing the entire interaction. Kaeden gripped Sean's shoulder and steered him into the hallway before Kate could say anything else. Bye, Kate called after them. Have a good work meeting, about work, which you're going to discuss. The door clicked shut. Sean glanced at Kaeden as they walked toward the elevators. Kate seems good, energetic. Don't. Don't what? Whatever you're thinking, don't. I'm not thinking anything. Sean pressed the elevator call button. The doors opened immediately. I was just making conversation, being polite. You want me to be rude to your sister? I want you to be less. Kaeden gestured vaguely as they stepped inside. That? Charming. Stop being charming around Kate. Sean laughed, hitting the button for the 45th floor. You realize how insane you sound right now? I'm serious. You're paranoid. The elevator began its smooth ascent. Sean leaned against the wall, arms crossed. She's inexperienced, Sean. You're overprotective, Kaeden. How is she going to grow up and gain some experience if you wrap her in bubble wrap? I'll think about that later, but right now, I don't think she's ready to be in a serious relationship. So I want you to ease off a bit. But if you think she's inexperienced, wouldn't she be better off with me, assuming you trust me, rather than with some random wolf? No random wolf is going to get into my family. I trust you, Sean. So when she is ready, you'd be my first pick, but not now. How do you know I have any intention? You have a neon sign on your forehead. Sean blinked. I do? Yes. And she runs an art gallery that pulled in $2 million last year, which means she's not a kid anymore, which is exactly why I need you to back off. The elevator chimed. 45th floor. They stepped out into the empty hallway. The marble floors gleamed under recessed lighting. Their footsteps echoed off the walls. Kaeden waited until they were inside his private office, the smaller one attached to the main corner office, before he spoke. Sean shut the door behind them, crossed his arms. All right, what's going on? And don't say nothing because your wolf is practically vibrating out of your skin right now. I'm fine. You're fine. Sean's voice was flat with disbelief. Yes. Your wolf is losing his mind. I can feel it from here. You're broadcasting stress like a radio tower. Sean moved closer, and his voice dropped. Talk to me, man. What happened? Kaeden moved to the window, pressed his palm against the cool glass. 45 floors down, the city sprawled beneath them. People the size of ants. Cars like toys. From up here, everything looked manageable, controllable. From up here, you couldn't smell jasmine and window cleaner and fear. It's stress, Kaeden said finally. The gala. Tonight, all of it. Stress. Sean let out a sharp laugh. You didn't break a sweat during the Morrison merger. That was $100 million, 3 different countries, and a CEO who threatened to kill you twice. He was kidding. He was not kidding. His lawyer had to physically restrain him. Sean settled into one of the leather chairs, sprawled like he owned it. 20 years of friendship meant he was comfortable anywhere Kaeden was. But now you're stressed because of a gala where you get to pick from the most eligible, most beautiful women in the pack? Women who are literally competing for the chance to be with you? It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You show up, you dance, you smile, you pick someone, done. Sean studied him with those sharp brown eyes that had always seen too much. Unless there's a reason it's not simple anymore. Kaeden turned from the window, met his best friend's gaze. I met someone. The words hung in the air between them. Sean went very still, the kind of still predators went before they struck. When? 30 minutes ago. Kaeden gestured toward the connecting door that led to his main corner office. In there. In your office. Sean's eyebrows climbed toward his hairline. The office you've owned for 5 years where you've met approximately 10,000 people? This was different. How different? She crashed through my balcony. Silence. Then, she what? Crashed through my balcony. Well, technically, she came in from the balcony. The words tumbled out faster now, pressure releasing. She's a window cleaner. Her harness malfunctioned during the power outage, and her pendant, her mother's pendant, fell onto my balcony and rolled inside. So she swung down from 45 floors to retrieve it, even though she's terrified of heights. Actual diagnosed acrophobia. I could hear her heart rate from across the room. Sean's expression had gone from skeptical to fascinated. Keep going. She has a guinea pig. A guinea pig. Named Safety Marshal Sterling, brown, about this big. Kaeden held his hands 6 inches apart. He lives in her pocket and sits on her shoulder. He's OSHA-certified, so he said. He told you? Literally spoke to you? Yes. She said he speaks multiple languages when he's nervous. Sean stared at him for a long moment. Then he leaned back in his chair, laced his fingers behind his head. Okay, so you've either met the most interesting woman in the world, or you've had a complete psychotic break and I need to call a doctor. I'm genuinely 50-50 on which. I'm not having a psychotic episode. That's exactly what someone having a psychotic break would say. Sean, so this window cleaner with acrophobia and a talking guinea pig. Sean's voice was careful now. Clinical. The tone he used when he was working through a problem. What's her name? Sable. Pretty name. Sean tilted his head. Why do you smell like fear and jasmine and something else I can't quite place? Kaeden's hands clenched at his sides. Because she's my mate. The words fell like stones into water. Sean's chair creaked as he sat forward slowly. All the humor drained from his face. Your mate. My wolf recognized her instantly. Kaeden's voice came out rougher than he intended. The second she looked at me. Mine, that's all my wolf could say. Mine, mine, mine. And her wolf? Recognized me too, even though she's on suppressants, heavy ones, from the scent. She's taken double doses at least, maybe triple. Her wolf shouldn't have been able to surface at all. He turned back to the window, pressed his forehead against the glass. The coolness helped clear his head. But it did. I saw it in her eyes. Gold flash, her pupils dilated. She felt it. Does she know what it means? She knows. Kaeden's laugh was bitter. She ran. Well, not ran. I told her to stay in my office while I came down to meet you all. But the look on her face. He closed his eyes. She wanted to run. Why? I don't know. She's hiding something. Sean was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was gentle. What are you going to do? I don't know. Kaeden? He spun from the window. My father just gave me a speech about duty and responsibility. My mother told me Laura would make a good partner. The entire pack is expecting me to choose someone tonight. And my mate, my actual fated mate, is a window cleaner who's terrified of heights and carries a guinea pig in her pocket. You don't think your family would approve of her? He shook his head. My family? I'm sure they'll accept my true soulmate no matter what. The pack? I'm not sure. Hell, Kaeden. You're the alpha and I'm the beta. I'm not pulling rank, but when the alpha finds a true soulmate, it's my duty as the beta to make sure that she is treated well, and it's the pack's duty to accept and welcome her. Sean stood up, moved close enough that Kaeden could see the concern in his eyes. 20 years of friendship. 20 years of knowing each other's tells. What do you want to do? Sean asked quietly. Let's meet her. Then you tell me what you think. We'll go from there. Sean nodded. Then let's do that. Kaeden pushed through the door into the main corner office and stopped dead. The office was empty. No Sable, no Marshall, just empty space where a person should be. The wall where his Rothko had hung was bare, just blank wall, slightly lighter than the surrounding paint where the frame had protected it from sun exposure for the past 3 years. Sean moved to stand beside him. Kaeden, where's your painting? Kaeden stared at the empty space. The Rothko, blues bleeding into purples. The piece he'd paid $2 million for at auction. The piece that had been there 20 minutes ago when he'd walked out of this office. Gone. Your mate, Sean said slowly, carefully like he was defusing a bomb, stole a $2 million painting. Kaeden's wolf was going insane, howling, clawing at his control, screaming that something was wrong. Wrong. Totally wrong. No. Kaeden's voice came out rough. She didn't steal it. Kaeden, how do you know? I just know. He moved to his desk, grabbed his phone. Security, pull up the security footage, now. Chapter 3. Sable's boots hit each step with a rhythmic thud that echoed up and down the stairwell. 44th floor, 43rd. The numbers blurred past on the walls, metal plates bolted to concrete that had probably looked industrial chic to some architect who'd never had to run for their life down 45 flights of stairs. Marshall clung to her shoulder, his tiny claws digging through her jumpsuit. 42, 41, 40, wait, was that 40 or 39? I lost count. This is very stressful. My counting abilities are compromised under duress. Marshall, I'm documenting this for Chapter 8 of my book, When Motivational Speaking Fails, A Guinea Pig's Guide to Panic. Sable yanked on another door handle, locked, the same as the last 6 floors. Her lungs burned. Her thighs screamed. Why are all these doors locked? She gasped. Security protocol during events, very standard, also very inconvenient for people fleeing from their past. Marshall's nose twitched. 38, try this one. She tried, locked, kept running down. 37, 36, 30, actually I have no idea anymore. The numbers are meaningless. We could be in the basement for all I know. We're not in the basement. How do you know? Everything looks the same. Concrete, metal, existential dread, very basement-y. Sable pulled on another door, still locked. Her heart hammered against her ribs so hard she thought it might crack through. The suppressant in her system made everything worse. Her balance was off. Her wolf was howling, but distant, like she was hearing it through water. And under it all, the mate bond pulled at her chest like a fishhook. Go back, mate, go back. Shut up, she muttered to her wolf. I didn't say anything, Marshall said. Not you. She rounded another landing, grabbed another handle. Locked. This is it, Marshall announced. This is how we die. Trapped in a stairwell. Future generations will find our bones. They'll make a documentary. The Window Cleaner and the Guinea Pig, a tragic tale of Marshall, please. I'm processing trauma through narrative structure. It's very therapeutic. Sable tried another door. Locked. Another. Locked. Marshall's nose twitched again, harder this time. His whiskers vibrated. Wait. What? I smell something. He inhaled deeply. Oh my. What is it? Chocolate. His voice had gone reverent. Melted chocolate, Belgian, if I'm not mistaken, with notes of vanilla and maybe another sniff. Grand Marnier, this is serious chocolate. Professional grade, the kind they use in kitchens, Sable finished. She grabbed the next door handle. It turned. The door swung open. Sound and heat and scent rolled over them like a wave. The kitchen was massive, easily the size of a small warehouse. Stainless steel counters stretched in every direction. Industrial ovens lined one wall. A team of at least 50 people moved in choreographed chaos, chopping, stirring, plating, shouting orders in what sounded like 3 different languages. And the chocolate. God, the chocolate. An entire station was dedicated to it. Fountains, sculptures, truffles arranged in geometric patterns. A pastry chef was hand-painting individual bonbons with gold leaf. Marshall made a sound that could only be described as a whimper. "Sable," he whispered, "this is heaven. We've died and gone to chocolate heaven." "We haven't died. Not yet. But if we die here, I'm okay with it." A sous chef rushed past them carrying a tray of something that smelled like caramelized sugar and butter. She barely glanced at them. "Move!" she barked. "Out of the way!" Sable pressed against the wall. The kitchen was controlled chaos, everyone moving too fast to pay attention to one random person in work clothes. "Walk confidently," Marshall said from her shoulder. "Like you belong here. The clothes help. You could be security, or janitorial, or health inspection. Health inspection would shut this place down for having a guinea pig. Details, just walk." Sable straightened her spine and started walking. The kitchen was a maze. She dodged a line cook carrying a pot of something boiling, skirted around a prep station where someone was deveining what looked like 1,000 shrimp, nearly collided with a pastry cart loaded with miniature tarts. "Left," Marshall directed. "No, your other left. Between the guy with the fish and the woman with the blowtorch." "Yes, that's a blowtorch. This is a very high-end operation." They weaved through the chaos. The heat was oppressive. Every oven going, every burner lit. Sable's jumpsuit clung to her skin. Sweat trickled down her spine. "Chocolate at 3 o'clock, Marshall reported. Dark chocolate torte, ganache dripping down the sides. "Oh, that's beautiful. That's art." "Marshall, focus." "I am focused. I'm focusing on chocolate." Multitasking. They passed the chocolate station. Marshall swiveled his head to watch it disappear behind them, his expression mournful. "We could just take one piece, one tiny piece. No one would notice. We're trying not to get arrested. One piece wouldn't be grand larceny. Petty theft at most. Misdemeanor, very minor. Marshall, fine, but I'm adding this to my therapy bill." They reached the far end of the kitchen. A set of double doors led to what looked like a service corridor. Sable pushed through and the temperature dropped 20 degrees immediately. The corridor was blessedly quiet after the kitchen chaos. Marshall scrambled down her arm and dove into her chest pocket. Emerged a second later with something clutched in his tiny paws, a security badge on a lanyard. "Where did you get that?" Sable demanded. "Chef's jacket. The one by the chocolate fountain." He was very focused on his ganache. Didn't even notice. Marshall examined the badge. This is Henry Chen from Security Services. Asian male, mid-40s, not ideal." "Marshall, you can't just steal." "I'm borrowing for emergency purposes. I'll mail it back." He dove back into her pocket. "Hold on, I saw another one." "You saw another one?" "I'm very observant. It's a survival trait." Rustling sounds from her pocket. "Aha!" He emerged with a second badge. This one showed a woman with dark hair and glasses. Maria Rodriguez, Facilities Management. "Better," Marshall said, handing it to Sable. "You don't look anything like her. But if you flash it fast enough, people see what they expect to see. The real magic is it should have elevator access." Sable stared at the badge, then at Marshall. "You're a criminal." "I prefer ethically flexible problem solver." He climbed back up to her shoulder. "Now let's get out of here before someone realizes their badges are missing." The elevator bay was just around the corner. Sable's hand shook as she held the badge up to the reader. Please work, please." The reader beeped. Green light. The elevator doors opened. "Thank you, Maria Rodriguez," Marshall whispered. "Wherever you are." They stepped inside. The doors slid shut. Blessed silence. Marshall looked up at her from her shoulder. "So, we're going to the ground floor, right?" Exit the building? Go home? Never return to this nightmare tower of locked doors and stolen chocolate? Sable's finger hovered over the button panel, the pendant. She still hadn't found the pendant. And Kaeden's office was on the 45th floor. Lara would have left by now. She'd been searching the lower floors. Sable had heard her voice in the stairwell, directing people to check floors 30 through 35. She wouldn't be up on 45 anymore, probably. Sable. Marshall's voice held a warning. I recognize that look. That's your, I'm about to make a terrible decision look. I need the pendant. We can get another pendant. Pendants are easy. They sell them at the mall. Some are very nice. I saw one shaped like a guinea pig. Marshall. No. His claws dug into her shoulder. Absolutely not. We are not going back up there. That's where the angry alpha and the scary woman and your mate, who you're avoiding, are located. I'm not avoiding him. You ran away. I didn't run. So what are you doing down here? Going back means running into your old pack, meaning being captured. Jail time. It's very bad, very, very bad. Sable pressed the button for the 45th floor. Marshall let out a sound somewhere between a squeak and a groan. This is it. This is how I die. In an elevator, going up when we should be going down. The irony will be lost on no one. The elevator began its smooth ascent. Numbers ticked upward on the display. 10, 15, 20. Marshall started praying. Om Mani Padme Hum. Hail Mary, full of grace. Allahu Akbar. I'm covering all the language bases I know of here, but please use Google Translate if needed. Any available deity, if you're listening, we could use some help. Also, I'd like to put in a formal request that if we do get arrested, the jail has chocolate. The odds are currently 0 based on my calculations, but I'm hoping for divine intervention. The elevator chimed. 10th floor. The doors opened. A woman in a crisp black uniform stood there, holding a room service cart. She looked at Sable's jumpsuit, at the security badge clipped to her collar, and smiled. Going up? The woman asked. Yeah, Sable said, trying to sound casual, trying not to look like someone fleeing. The woman wheeled her cart inside. The doors closed. Busy night? Sable asked, because that's what security would ask. Casual, professional. Oh my God, you have no idea. The woman leaned against the elevator wall, clearly exhausted. There's this huge event on the 2nd floor, a gala, like fairy tale ball level fancy. I've been running room service all day for the guests staying in the hotel suites. Sounds intense. It's gorgeous, though. I snuck a peek earlier. String quartet, ice sculptures, champagne fountains. And the guest list? The woman whistled. It's like every beautiful person in the city showed up. Models, actors, that tech billionaire who was on the cover of Forbes last month. Marshall had gone very still on Sable's shoulder. What's the occasion? Sable asked, even though something in her chest already knew the answer. Oh, some major CEO is choosing a mate tonight. Very big deal in their community. Like culturally significant. The woman adjusted her cart as the elevator climbed past 25. I saw him earlier, the CEO. He's like something out of a movie. Tall, gorgeous, perfectly tailored suit. And nice, too. He held the door for me when my cart got stuck. Very respectful. The fishhook in Sable's chest yanked hard. Sounds like a catch, Sable managed. Right? I wonder who he'll pick. There were at least 50 women there, all stunning. Any one of them would be lucky. The woman sighed dreamily. It's like a fairy tale. Very Cinderella, you know? Except everyone's invited and no one loses a shoe. The elevator chimed. 10th floor. This is me, the woman said, wheeling her cart toward the doors. Good luck with your shift. Wait, Sable said. The CEO, what's his name? But the doors were already closing. The doors shut. Silence. The elevator climbed past 40, 41, 42. Sable's throat felt tight. He doesn't know what I am. What I did, when he finds out, he'll still want you. Because that's how mate bonds work. You don't know that. I read a study. 87% of mate bonds survive revelation of past criminal activity. Those are excellent odds. Despite everything, Sable almost laughed. You made that up. It feels accurate, though. Marshall patted her collarbone with his tiny paw. Look, I'm going to level with you. This is objectively a terrible plan. Going back to his office? Very bad. Staying in this building? Worse. But I understand why you need the pendant. So I'm with you. But after this, we're leaving. And you're buying me so much chocolate my descendants will still be sugar high. Deal. The elevator chimed. 45th floor. The doors slid open. The hallway was empty. Marble floors gleaming under recessed lights. The same corridor she'd run through an hour ago, terrified and desperate. It felt like a lifetime ago. She stepped out. The doors whispered shut behind her. Marshall's voice was barely audible. Sable, I'm charging hazard pay for this. Payable in Belgian dark chocolate, with sea salt. Noted. They moved down the hallway. Her boots were too loud on the marble. Every step echoed. Every breath seemed amplified. Kaeden's office was at the end of the corridor. The door was ajar. A sliver of light spilled out into the hallway. Sable froze. Marshall's claws tightened on her shoulder. That door was closed when we left. I know. Which means someone's in there. I know. Which means we should turn around and leave immediately. But Sable was already moving forward. 1 step, 2. She reached the door, pushed it open slowly. What she saw left her speechless. Chapter 4. The office wasn't empty. Carlos stood by the window, silhouetted against the city lights. Her boss. The man who'd hired her 2 years ago, no questions asked, when every other window cleaning company in the city had turned away the rogue with no references and heavy suppressants dulling her senses. He turned at the sound of the door. His weathered face creased into a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Sable. He said her name like an apology. I was hoping you'd gotten out already. She stepped into the office slowly. Marshall's claws dug into her shoulder, his version of an alarm system. What are you doing here, Carlos? He gestured toward the empty wall where the Rothko had hung. Coming back for you. Couldn't leave without making sure you were safe. The painting, the missing Rothko, the pieces clicked into place with the inevitability of a trap snapping shut. You took it? I did. No shame in his voice, no guilt, just matter-of-fact admission. Been planning it for 6 months. The power outage was perfect timing. Security systems down, cameras on, backup, power only. Everyone distracted. He moved away from the window, and she caught the slight stiffness in his gait. Old injury, maybe, from years of dangling 40 stories up. Didn't think you'd get stuck in the building. That wasn't part of the plan. Marshall whispered, I don't like where this is going. On a scale of 1 to 10, my anxiety is at a solid 17, possibly 18. The scale is breaking. Sable's mind raced. Carlos. Quiet, steady Carlos who'd taught her every safety protocol. Who'd given her Marshall when she'd been spiraling from panic attacks on the scaffolding. Who'd never once asked about her past. And you came back in? And what if you got caught? He smiled. I won't. Everyone is downstairs now for the gala. I'm in here just as a window cleaner, the same way you came in. I'm your boss. I came looking for you. What they saw in the building security footage wasn't me. I'm experienced enough. Have we ever actually cleaned these building windows for money, Carlos? Of course we clean windows for money, still part of the business model. He shrugged. The cleaning fees barely cover gas. But the art collections in buildings like this? That's different money, life-changing money. For you, for the House of Dusk. The air left Sable's lungs, the House of Dusk, the elder care home on the east side, the place that took in abandoned pack members, the elderly, the weak, the ones their families had discarded like broken furniture. Sable had been donating what little she could spare every month, $20 here, $50 there. Guilt money, maybe, for having the luxury of running when so many others couldn't. You've been stealing art, she said slowly, selling it, using the money for the home. Someone has to. Carlos's voice was quiet, steady. You've seen that place. You know how they're barely scraping by. The PACs that dump their elders there don't give them any support. The city funding is a joke. Those people worked their whole lives, and now they're warehoused in a building with leaking pipes and secondhand medical equipment. So you became Robin Hood. I became practical. He moved toward her. I've been doing this for 5 years, Sable. 17 paintings, over $1 million raised, new roof on the home, updated kitchen, actual physical therapy equipment instead of resistance bands from 1987, 3 full-time nurses instead of 1 part-timer who was 1 sick day away from a breakdown. Marshall's whiskers twitched against her neck. Okay, so morally this is very confusing. On one hand, theft. On the other hand, helping grandmas. I don't know how to feel. My ethical framework is experiencing a system malfunction. But you shouldn't have come back. Sable's throat felt tight. It's dangerous. If they catch you, they won't. Carlos smiled. I'm good at this. And I couldn't leave you here. He moved toward the balcony door. We need to leave. I can get you out. Same way I came in. Ropes, harness, down to street level in 10 minutes. Her wolf howled at the thought, the mate bond pulled at her chest. I can't. He nodded slowly. Understood. I'll wait for you at the House of Dusk. She smiled, even though it felt fragile. Sure, I'll join you as soon as I can. Before he turned to go back out to the balcony, he paused. I have a present for you. Marshall's head popped up. Oh no, presents from art thieves are never good news. This is going to increase my jail time without chocolate calculations exponentially. What kind of present? Sable asked warily. Laura Winters. Carlos checked his watch. She's been temporarily incapacitated. Should give you at least an hour to get downstairs and talk to your mate before she causes problems. The blood drained from Sable's face. What did you do to her? Nothing permanent. She's fine, just contained. At Sable's expression, he raised his hands. I didn't hurt her. I'm not a monster. She's just going to be unavailable for a while. Carlos. Sable. He gripped both her shoulders, looked her in the eyes. The fluorescent lights caught the deep lines around his mouth, the silver threading through his dark hair. I love you like a sister, like family. You're brave and stubborn, and you've been running for 2 years when you should have been living. So I'm giving you 1 hour. 1 hour to talk to your mate, explain yourself, and see if he's worthy of you. Because if he's not, Carlos's smile was sharp. Then you call me, and I'll come back with the ropes. Her eyes burned. You're a criminal. So are you. We're a matching set. He released her shoulders, moved toward the balcony. Watch yourself, kid. And if that alpha breaks your heart, I'm stealing his entire art collection. Then he was gone. Out the balcony door, down the side of the building with the practiced ease of someone who'd spent decades defying gravity for a living. Sable stood in the empty office, her wolf howling in her chest. Marshall climbed down to sit in her palm, his small weight grounding. So, are we getting down on all fours and searching for the pendant again? Because I've done that once today and my dignity can only take so much. Yes, Marshall. I feared as much. The phone on the desk rang. The speaker clicked on automatically, or maybe it was an intercom. She wished she was more technologically savvy. The voice coming across was Kaeden's, deep, rich, doing things to her pulse that should be illegal. Sable, if you're still in my office looking for the pendant, I just want to let you know I have it with me. And I'm in the ballroom on level 2. Click. Silence. Marshall looked up at her. Well, that was convenient. Also slightly terrifying. How did he know we were here? I don't know. Security cameras, tracking device, alpha superpowers? Marshall's whiskers twitched anxiously. These are all concerning options. He has my pendant. Yes, which means we have to go down there to the fancy party, where there are hundreds of people and your mate and probably Laura Winters once she escapes whatever closet Carlos stuffed her into. Marshall sighed dramatically. This is fine. Everything is fine. I'm not having a panic attack. This is just how I breathe now. Marshall, let's go meet your prince. What's the worst that could happen? Don't answer that. I can think of at least 47 scenarios, and none of them end with chocolate. The second floor was transformed. Sable stepped out of the elevator into what looked like a fairy tale. Crystal chandeliers threw rainbow light across marble floors. String quartet music drifted through the air, live musicians tucked into an alcove near floor-to-ceiling windows. Ice sculptures shaped like wolves guarded the entrance to the main ballroom. The scent of champagne and expensive perfume and too many people in one space made her head spin. She didn't belong here, in her work jumpsuit and steel-toed boots, with her broken pendant chain and her guinea pig in her pocket and her past following her like a shadow. She should leave, should turn around and, "Excuse me, miss?" A security guard approached, his expression polite but firm. "I'm going to need to see your invitation." Marshall whispered, "Flash the badge. The one we borrowed." Confidence is key. Also, lying. Lots of lying. Sable pulled out Maria Rodriguez's security badge, held it up just long enough for the guard to see facilities management, then clipped it back to her collar. "Checking the backup generators," she said. "Won't be long." The guard hesitated, glanced at her jumpsuit, her boots, then nodded and stepped aside. "Excellent deception," Marshall whispered once they were past. "Very convincing. I'm adding that to Chapter 12 of my book. Advanced Lying, a guinea pig's guide to social infiltration and felony trespassing. I hate lying. You're remarkably talented at it for someone who hates it. Have you considered a career in espionage? The pay is probably better than window cleaning." The ballroom was even more overwhelming up close. Hundreds of people in evening wear, women in gowns that probably cost more than Sable's van, men in tuxedos that fit like they'd been painted on. Everyone beautiful, everyone confident, everyone belonging in a way she never would. She couldn't find Kaeden. Scanned the crowd but couldn't pick out his scent over the mass of expensive cologne and perfume. "Sable?" She turned. Kate stood there, emerald dress shimmering under the chandeliers. Her eyes were wide with recognition. "You're the window cleaner. From earlier. I saw you in the security footage Kaeden was watching." Sable's stomach dropped. "I can explain. Are you okay?" Kate moved closer, lowering her voice. "You look like you're about to pass out. Do you need water? A chair? Both? All of the above?" The kindness in her voice was somehow worse than suspicion would have been. "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You're shaking." Kate glanced around, then linked her arm through Sable's like they were old friends. "Come on. Let's get you somewhere quiet before you collapse in front of 300 people and my father has a cardiac event about the optics." She steered Sable toward a side room, some kind of private lounge with velvet couches and low lighting and blessedly few people. An older woman sat by the window, elegant in navy silk, watching the gala through the glass. Kaeden's mother. Sable recognized her from earlier. The same sharp green eyes that missed nothing. "Kate, who's this?" The woman stood, moved toward them with the grace of someone who'd spent her entire life navigating formal events. "I'm not sure," Kate admitted, "but she needs help." I should go." Sable tried to pull away. The woman's hand closed gently around her wrist. Not restraining, just steadying. "You're shaking badly enough that I can feel your pulse from here." Her voice was warm, concerned. The kind of voice that made you want to confess all your secrets. "When was the last time you ate?" "I don't remember." "Kate, get her some food. Something with protein and water." The woman guided Sable to the couch, settled her down like she was precious, like she mattered. "Breathe. You're safe here." Marshall poked his head out of Sable's pocket. "This is a very nice lady. I approve of her. 5 stars. Would be rescued again. 10 out of 10, no notes." Kate's eyes went huge. "Your guinea pig talks." "He does," Sable said weakly. "That's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life." Kate crouched down to Marshall's eye level, her dress pooling around her. "Hi, I'm Kate." Safety Marshall Sterling, OSHA-certified future best-selling author, motivational speaker in training. Marshall's chest puffed out with pride. "Charmed, I'm sure. Delighted. enchanted even. Can you really speak multiple languages? Fluently. Well, spiritually fluently. Grammatically, there's significant room for improvement, but the intent is there. The heart wants what the heart wants, and my heart wants multilingual communication. Marshall's whiskers twitched importantly. I'm currently working on my Mandarin pronunciation, very challenging for someone without lips. Kate's laugh was delighted, pure joy. I want to adopt you. Can I adopt you? Sable, can I please adopt your guinea pig? I'll give him his own room, and a tiny bed, and access to the kitchen. He's not really mine to give away, but I could visit him? Like co-parenting? Joint custody? Shared visitation rights? Marshall whispered to Sable, I like her. She has good energy. Also, she mentioned kitchen access. That's very promising. I'm sensing chocolate opportunities. The older woman was watching Sable with those sharp green eyes that seemed to see straight through skin to soul. What's your name, dear? Sable. I'm Eleanor, Kaeden's mother. She settled onto the couch beside Sable, close enough that her warmth was comforting rather than threatening. And I think you're in some kind of distress. Your wolf is restless. I can feel it from here, even through whatever suppressants you're taking. Sable's hands twisted in her lap. I'm fine. You're not. And that's okay. Eleanor's voice was so gentle it made Sable's chest ache. When I found my mate, Kaeden's father, my wolf went absolutely feral. I thought I was losing my mind. Couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't think about anything except him. It took me weeks to learn how to control the urge. Weeks? Sable's voice cracked. Sometimes longer. The mate bond is powerful. It overrides everything else. Reason, logic, self-preservation. Eleanor took Sable's hand. Her palm was warm, calloused in unexpected places. Real hands, working hands. But you can learn to manage it, even if you're on suppressants, even if the timing is terrible, even if you think you don't deserve it. Would you like me to show you? Sable's eyes burned. Her throat felt like someone had wrapped barbed wire around it. Why would you help me? Because you're clearly struggling. Eleanor squeezed her hand. And because my son has been tearing this building apart looking for someone. He's called me 6 times in the past hour. 6. He never calls me during events. And given the way your wolf is reacting right now, the way you're shaking, I'm guessing that someone is you. The tears spilled over before Sable could stop them. Hot and mortifying and impossible to control. Eleanor made a soft sound, the kind of sound mothers make when their children hurt, and pulled Sable into a hug. A real hug, arms around her, hand cradling the back of her head. The kind mothers gave. The kind Sable hadn't felt in 2 years. The kind she thought she'd never feel again. Breathe, Eleanor murmured against her hair. 4 counts in. Hold for 4. 4 counts out. Hold for 4. Let your wolf know you're safe. Let it know you're not abandoning your mate. Just taking a moment to catch your breath. The breathing technique worked. Slowly, like coaxing a wild animal into trusting you. The howling in Sable's chest quieted to a whimper. The crushing pressure eased by increments. Marshall had migrated to Kate's hands. She was holding him like he was made of spun glass and stardust, listening raptly as he explained his OSHA certification process in elaborate detail. And then there's a written exam. Very challenging. Multiple choice, but the choices are deliberately confusing, designed to trick you. I scored 93%, which I maintain is excellent, considering I had to mark the answers with my teeth. Do you know how hard it is to fill in tiny bubbles with teeth? It's nearly impossible. I deserve bonus points for physical difficulty. Kate was looking at Marshall like he'd personally hung the moon and then gift-wrapped it for her. You're the most amazing guinea pig I've ever met in my entire life. I'm the most amazing guinea pig you'll ever meet. Statistically speaking, the odds of encountering another guinea pig of my caliber are approximately 0.0%. But thank you for acknowledging my superiority. An older man entered the lounge, distinguished, silver-haired. The same sharp features as Kaeden, but weathered by decades of leadership and worry, the father. He stopped when he saw the scene. Kate holding Marshall like treasure. Eleanor holding Sable like she was precious. Everyone crying or laughing or both. "Should I ask?" he said mildly. "Dad!" Kate bounced up, nearly dropping Marshall in her enthusiasm. "Look, this is Marshall. He's OSHA-certified and he talks and he's writing a book and he wants to be a motivational speaker." The father looked at Marshall. Marshall looked back, sitting up on his haunches with great dignity. "Fascinating," the father said. Then to Sable, "Are you the one my son's been searching for?" Sable couldn't speak. Her throat had closed up again. She just nodded. "Good. He's been insufferable." The father moved closer, and his expression softened slightly, like ice melting at the edges. "I'm Richard, and despite what you may have heard, I'm not actually a monster, just protective of my family." "I understand," Sable whispered. "Do you?" Richard settled into a chair across from her, elbows on his knees. "Because from what I understand, you're a rogue. You have a complicated past. You're standing in my son's building wearing work clothes and carrying a talking guinea pig, and you look like you're about to bolt out the nearest exit at any second." "Richard," Eleanor warned, "let me finish." He leaned forward and his eyes, the same amber as Kaeden's, held hers. "All of that? Doesn't matter. Not to me, not to this family. What matters is whether you're good for my son, whether you'll stand by him when things get difficult, whether you'll be strong enough to be an alpha's mate." He paused. "Are you?" Sable met his eyes, fought every instinct to look away. "I don't know." "That's an honest answer. I respect that more than false confidence." Richard stood up. "Kate, show me this remarkable guinea pig. Eleanor, help this young woman pull herself together. We have a gala to finish." He left with Kate and Marshall already launching into another story about his motivational speaking aspirations and the challenges of public speaking without opposable thumbs. Eleanor squeezed Sable's hand. "He likes you." "He called me a rogue." "He did, but he also didn't throw you out. Didn't call security, didn't interrogate you about your past." Eleanor used a handkerchief to wipe Sable's tears with the gentle efficiency of someone who'd dried many tears over many years. For Richard, that's practically a warm welcome. He's very protective, but he's also fair, and he can see you're not a threat. "He doesn't know what I've done." "Maybe not, but he knows what you are." Eleanor cupped Sable's face, forcing eye contact. "You're someone who's been hurt. Someone who's been running. Someone who's terrified of being abandoned again. And someone who just found their mate and doesn't know what to do about it." She smiled. "I was you, Sable. 30 years ago, I was exactly you." "I'm not good for Kaeden." "That's for him to say. Not you, not your fear, not your past." Eleanor's voice was firm now. "Whatever problems you have, whatever you're running from, we will help you sort it out. That's what mates do. That's what family does. You don't understand. I understand more than you think." Eleanor stood, pulled Sable up with her. "I was once a young woman who thought she wasn't good enough for an alpha, who thought her past would poison any future. My father was a drunk. My mother left when I was 7. I grew up in pack housing with 3 other families because we couldn't afford anything better." She lifted Sable's chin. "And 30 years later, here I am, alpha's mate, mother of 2, happy, loved, living a life I never thought I deserved." Sable's vision blurred again. "Give yourself a chance," Eleanor said softly. "Give Kaeden a chance. Give us a chance to be your family, please." Sable wanted to. God, she wanted to so badly it physically hurt. But she couldn't. She wouldn't. Because she would only break his heart when he learned the truth. And breaking his heart would destroy her. Chapter 5. The music stopped. Not gradually. Not with a gentle fade, just stopped. Mid-phrase. The string quartet's bows lifted from their instruments in perfect synchronization, and the sudden silence was so complete, Sable could hear her own heartbeat thundering in her ears. The crowd shifted. A ripple of movement that started at the far end of the ballroom and spread like water, finding its level. Women in glittering gowns moved toward the center of the floor, forming a semicircle that looked choreographed, rehearsed. like they'd done this before. Because they had. This was the moment. The selection, the fairy tale made real. Kaeden stood at the top of the grand staircase. Sable's breath caught. He'd changed. The business suit was gone, replaced by formal evening wear that looked like it had been tailored by someone who understood that fabric could be architecture. Black jacket, white shirt. No tie. The collar open just enough to show the hollow of his throat. His dark hair was pushed back from his face, and under the chandelier light his eyes were pure gold. He looked like every prince from every fairy tale she'd ever read as a child. Before life had taught her that fairy tales were lies, and princes didn't exist, and girls like her didn't get happy endings. Her wolf howled, "Mine." Sable took a step back. Her boot hit someone's heel. "Sorry," she whispered. The woman didn't even glance at her. No one did. Every eye in the room was fixed on Kaeden. "I need to leave," Sable said to Eleanor. Eleanor's hand closed around her elbow. Gentle but firm. "Stay." "I can't." "You can." Eleanor's grip tightened slightly. "Just a little longer." Marshall was conspicuously absent from her shoulder. Sable scanned the room and found him, nestled in Kate's palm, surrounded by what looked like chocolate truffles the size of his head. He caught her eye and had the grace to look slightly guilty. Then he picked up a truffle and bit into it with the expression of a guinea pig who'd found enlightenment. "Marshall!" Sable hissed. He pretended not to hear her. "He's happy," Kate said, appearing at Sable's other side. "Also, he's on his 4th truffle. I think he's reached a transcendent state of chocolate-induced bliss." "Traitor," Sable muttered. Marshall waved a tiny paw at her. "You're on your own for this one," the jester said. "I'm busy achieving nirvana." Eleanor was steering her forward, through the crowd, toward the edge of the dance floor. The elbow holding was gentle, but Sable knew with absolute certainty, that if she tried to bolt, Eleanor would stop her. Politely, kindly, but firmly. "Smile," Eleanor whispered. "You look like you're walking to your execution." "I feel like I'm walking to my execution." "You're walking to your mate. Try to look less terrified." Sable tried to smile. Her face felt like it was cracking. She was wearing a work jumpsuit covered in window cleaner residue and concrete dust. Her boots had scuff marks. Her braid was coming loose. She belonged in a service corridor, not a ballroom. Not here, not with him. But no one was looking at her. Every eye was fixed on Kaeden as he descended the staircase with the kind of confidence that came from a lifetime of people watching him. The crowd parted automatically. Women in gowns that cost more than Sable's yearly income stepped back, leaving a clear path. His eyes scanned the room, searching. "Please don't see me, please don't." His gaze locked on hers. Everything else disappeared. The ballroom, the crowd, the music. The world narrowed to just the two of them, and the space between them and the mate bond pulling at her chest like a rope made of lightning. He walked toward her. The room held its breath. Sable's heart was going to explode, actually explode. They'd find pieces of it embedded in the chandelier. He stopped in front of her, close enough that she could smell him. Pine and smoke, and something darker that made her wolf purr with satisfaction. He held out his hand. "Dance with me," he said. Not a question, not a command, just a request. Simple, devastating. The room exhaled, a collective sound of released tension and crushed hopes. Sable caught movement in her peripheral vision, women turning away, faces carefully neutral, swallowing tears of disappointment. This was it, the official decision, the mate choice everyone knew. And she was standing here in her work jumpsuit like the world's worst Cinderella. "I can't," she whispered. "You can." His hand stayed extended, patient. "Please." Eleanor's hand left her elbow. Kate had melted away into the crowd. Even Marshall had gone silent. It was just her and Kaeden and the choice between running and staying. Her hand moved before her brain could stop it. Her fingers slid into his palm. His hand closed around hers, warm, solid, real. The crowd made another sound, this one softer, approving. He led her onto the dance floor. The string quartet began to play, a waltz, something classical that Sable couldn't name but felt in her bones. 3/4 time, elegant and timeless and completely wrong for someone in steel-toed boots. Kaeden's other hand found her waist. His palm spread across her lower back, and even through the thick fabric of her jumpsuit, she felt the heat of him. "I don't know how to waltz," she said. Her voice came out rough. "Follow me." His voice was low, for her alone. "I'll lead." They moved. And somehow, impossibly, it worked. He guided her through the steps with the patience of someone teaching a child. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. His hand on her back was firm, telling her body where to go before her mind could panic about it. When she stumbled, he caught her. When she tried to look down at her feet, he tilted her chin up with a gentle pressure. "Look at me," he said. So she did. His eyes were gold and amber, and every warm color in the world. His face was close enough that she could see the faint scar on his left eyebrow, the way his jaw tightened when he was holding back words, the exact shade of bronze his skin turned under chandelier light. "Everyone's watching," she whispered. "Let them. I'm wearing a jumpsuit. I noticed. I look ridiculous. You look like someone who climbed 45 stories to retrieve her mother's pendant." His hand tightened on her waist. "You look like someone brave enough to crash through my balcony. You look exactly like you should." Her eyes burned. "Kaeden, I have your pendant." He spun her gently, and she followed without thinking, her body learning the rhythm despite her mind's protests. "It's in my pocket. I can give it to you after this dance." "Why didn't you give it to me before?" "Because I wanted you to come to me." His voice dropped lower. "I wanted you to choose to find me, not just the pendant." "That's manipulative." "That's desperate." He pulled her closer until she could feel his heartbeat against her chest. "I've been looking for you for 2 hours. I was starting to think you'd left the building. I tried." "What stopped you?" "You." The word came out before she could stop it. "You stopped me. You and your family and this—" She gestured vaguely at the space between them, at the mate bond thrumming like a live wire. "All of this." The music swelled. Around them, other couples had joined the dance floor, giving them space but filling the room with movement and the whisper of expensive fabric across polished marble. "I don't want to hurt you," Sable said. Her throat felt like broken glass. "Then don't. It's not that simple. It could be." His hand moved from her waist to the small of her back, guiding her through a turn she didn't know but somehow completed anyway. "Whatever you're running from, we can face it together." "You don't know what I've done." "Then tell me." The chandelier light caught in his eyes. The music wrapped around them like silk. His hand was warm against her back, and his scent was everywhere, and her wolf was singing. And this was the most perfect moment of her life, which meant it was about to shatter. She'd wanted this, wished for it in the desperate, secret part of her heart she'd tried so hard to bury. And the universe, cruel and capricious as always, was about to give her exactly what she'd wished for, just long enough to take it away. "Kaeden, stop!" The voice cut across the ballroom like a blade. The music faltered, stuttered, stopped. Lara Winters stood at the entrance to the ballroom. Her dress was torn, her hair was disheveled, there was dust on her cheek and fury in her eyes. And behind her, 2 security guards blocked the doorway. "That woman," Lara said, pointing directly at Sable with a hand that shook with rage, "is not a suitable match for an alpha." The room went silent, the kind of silence that came before earthquakes. Kaeden's hand tightened on Sable's waist. "Lara? She's a criminal?" Lara walked forward, and the crowd parted for her the way they'd parted for Kaeden. "A thief, and she brings nothing but bad luck and shame to any pack she touches." Sable's stomach dropped to her boots. "You don't know what you're talking about," Kaeden said. His voice had gone cold. "Dangerous." "Don't I?" Lara's smile was sharp as broken glass. "Ask her. Ask her what she stole. Ask her why she's a rogue." Sable tried to pull away. Kaeden wouldn't let her. "Let me go," she whispered. "No. Kaeden, please." Lara was close now, close enough that Sable could see the rope burns on her wrists, close enough to smell the rage and humiliation rolling off her in waves. "Admit it," Lara said directly to Sable. "Admit what you are, what you did." The room held its breath. 300 people waiting, watching. Sable's throat closed. Her heart was a hammer against her ribs. Kaeden's hand on her back was the only thing keeping her upright. "Admit it," Lara repeated. Her voice echoed off the marble floors. "Admit you stole a precious artifact from your pack's sacred place. Admit you're a thief." The words stuck in Sable's throat, but her silence was answer enough. "Say it," Lara demanded. "Out loud. Admit what you are, Kate." Sable's voice came out barely above a whisper. "I took something from the pack vault." Louder. "I stole from my pack." The words tasted like ash. The room erupted in whispers, gasps, the sound of judgment spreading like wildfire. "And was it for personal gain?" Lara pressed. "Yes or no?" Sable opened her mouth to explain, to tell them about her mother, about the pendant, about... "Yes or no?" Lara's voice cracked like a whip. "Yes," because it was personal. It was her mother's pendant. It was for her. She didn't wait to hear the reaction, didn't wait to see the disappointment in Kaeden's eyes, didn't wait for his hand to drop from her back. She ran. Through the crowd, past Eleanor's stricken face, past Kate's shocked expression, past Richard's carefully neutral mask. Marshall launched himself from Kate's hands and dove into her pocket. "Go, go, go," he squeaked. The ballroom doors were ahead. 20 feet, 15, 10. Her boot caught on the doorframe, the rubber sole stuck in the gap between marble and wood. Sable yanked her foot free. The boot stayed behind. She kept running. One boot on, one boot off. Her sock slapping against cold marble as she sprinted down the hallway toward the elevators. Behind her, she could hear the ballroom erupting into chaos. Ahead of her, the elevator doors stood open, waiting. She threw herself inside, slammed her hand against the button for the ground floor. The doors began to close. Through the narrowing gap, she saw Kaeden burst into the hallway, his eyes wild, his hand reaching out. "Sable," the door shut. The elevator began its descent. Marshall poked his head out of her pocket. So, that could have gone better. Sable slid down the wall, sat on the floor. Her sock was wet with something she didn't want to identify. Her chest was cracked open. Her wolf was howling. And in her hand, she was still clutching her mother's pendant. She didn't remember Kaeden giving it to her. Didn't remember him pressing it into her palm during the dance. But it was there. Silver and warm and real. "He gave it to me," she whispered. "He did," Marshall said quietly. "Before I ran. Yes. Before I ruined everything." Marshall climbed up to her shoulder, pressed his small, warm body against her neck. "You didn't ruin anything, Sable." "I ran away, again. You're very good at it. Lots of practice." Marshall paused. "But maybe, just maybe, it's time to stop running." The elevator reached the ground floor. The doors opened. Sable looked out at the lobby, at the exit, at freedom. Then she looked down at the pendant in her hand, at the proof that Kaeden had believed in her enough to give it back, even before she'd explained, even before she'd earned it. Chapter 6. 2 months later. Sable sat at the small wooden table in her rented room and counted money for the 3rd time that morning. The bills were worn soft from handling, organized into neat stacks that represented her entire survival strategy: rent, food, gas, suppressants. The suppressants were getting expensive. The cheaper ones had stopped working entirely. Her wolf clawed at her constantly now, howling for a mate she'd left behind in a ballroom with one boot missing and her heart in pieces on the floor. "We have $43 left after rent," Marshall said from his position on her shoulder. He'd been quieter these past 2 months, less prone to elaborate stories and motivational speeches. "That's approximately 0 chocolate bars. My calculations show a catastrophic deficit in chocolate consumption. I may not survive." "You'll survive." "Will I? Will I really? Because I've been tracking my emotional state and the data is concerning." He climbed down to sit on the table, his small body barely making a sound. Also, you're crying again. You do that a lot now. Sable touched her cheek. It came away wet. She hadn't even noticed. The pendant lay against her sternum, warm through her shirt. It had been getting warmer over the past week. Not hot, just a gentle heat that pulsed in time with her heartbeat. Her mother was close, somewhere in this region, maybe within 100 miles. She just had to keep looking. The room was barely bigger than a closet. Single bed, table, chair, window that overlooked the main street of a town so small it didn't have a grocery store, just a general store that sold expired cereal and canned goods with labels from the previous decade. The kind of place people came to disappear. She'd gotten good at disappearing. Outside, snow fell in thick, heavy flakes, the kind of snow that muffled sound and made the world feel wrapped in cotton. December in Montana was apparently just white silence and cold that bit through 3 layers of clothing. Her van was parked outside, packed with everything she owned, ready to leave at a moment's notice. She'd been ready to leave for 2 months now, but the pendant kept getting warmer. Stay just a little longer. She's close. Sable? Marshall's voice was small. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you think he's looking for us? Her hands stilled on the money. I don't know. Do you want him to be looking for us? The question hung in the cold air. Yes, God, yes. Every second of every day for 2 months she'd wanted him to find her, wanted to wake up and see him standing there with that expression he'd worn when they danced, like she was something precious instead of something broken. But she'd made her choice. She'd run, again. And he was an alpha with responsibilities and a pack and a life that didn't include a rogue window cleaner who stole from pack vaults and couldn't even explain herself properly before bolting like a coward. It doesn't matter what I want, Sable said quietly. It's the only thing that matters. Marshall climbed back up to her shoulder. But I understand. We keep looking for your mother. Then maybe... A sound cut through the snowy silence. An engine. Expensive. The kind of purr that came from German engineering, and a price tag with too many zeros. Marshall's claws dug into her shoulder. Sable, that's not a truck. That's not a pickup. That's a... She was already at the window. A black sedan had pulled up outside. Completely out of place in this tiny town where everyone drove vehicles held together with rust and prayer. The kind of car that belonged in cities, in ballrooms, in a life she'd run away from. The driver's door opened. Kaeden stepped out. Time stopped. He wore a long, black coat that looked like it cost more than her van. His dark hair was dusted with snow, and in his hand, he was holding her boot. The steel-toed work boot she'd left behind in the doorframe when she'd run. He'd kept it. For 2 months, he'd kept it. Oh, Marshall breathed. Oh, this is very romantic. This is chapter 20 level romantic. Possibly epilogue level. Sable's hands were shaking. Her wolf was screaming. The mate bond that she'd been trying to ignore for 2 months suddenly roared to life like someone had poured gasoline on embers. Mate, mine. She was moving before her brain caught up, out the door, down the stairs, onto the street in just her socks because she'd left her boots, her one remaining boot, upstairs. The snow was cold, shocking, real. Kaeden turned. Their eyes met, and Sable ran. Not away this time. Toward. Her socks slipped on ice. Her feet went out from under her. She was falling, the ground rushing up to meet her. He caught her, arms around her waist, solid, real, warm despite the cold. He smelled like pine and smoke and home, and God, she'd missed him so much it had physically hurt to breathe for 2 months. I've been looking everywhere for you, he said against her hair. She was crying, full body sobs that shook both of them. I know, I'm sorry, I just needed to find... I know what you needed to find. His arms tightened around her. That's why I'm here. She pulled back enough to look at his face. He looked tired. There were shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there before. His jaw was rough with stubble. He looked like he'd driven through the night. Maybe several nights. How did you find me? Her voice came out broken. With difficulty, a slight smile. You're very good at hiding. I had to call in favors from 3 different packs. Sean threatened to quit twice. My mother started a prayer circle. Marshall's business card led to a disconnected number. I canceled the phone, Marshall said from Sable's shoulder. Seemed prudent. Also, I've been very traumatized by the chocolate shortage. And your suppressant prescription trail went cold in Nevada. Kaeden's hand came up to cup her face. His thumb wiped away tears. But your mother's pendant has a magical signature, faint, almost impossible to track. But I had the best trackers in 5 states working on it. You tracked the pendant? I tracked you. The pendant just helped. He glanced down at her feet. One sock red, one sock gray, both soaked through with snow. You're going to get frostbite. I don't care. I do. He bent down, still holding her, and slipped her boot onto her foot. The steel-toed work boot with the scuff marks and concrete dust. He'd cleaned it. The leather shone. It fit perfectly. Sable started crying harder. Why are you here? She managed to ask. After what I did, after I ran, after Lara told everyone. Lara was escorted out of the building by security. Kaeden straightened, both hands cupping her face now. After we had a conversation about pack politics and appropriate behavior and the consequences of publicly shaming someone's mate. But I am a thief. Everything she said was true. You took back what belonged to your family. That's not theft. That's justice. His eyes were so gold they looked backlit. And even if it was theft, even if you'd stolen the damn Hope diamond, you're still my mate. That doesn't change. Marshall made a small sound. I'm not crying. You're crying. We're all crying. This is very emotional. I have something for you, Kaeden said. Sable's laugh was watery. The boot wasn't enough? The boot was just the opening act. He stepped back, took her hand. Close your eyes. Kaeden, please, trust me. She closed her eyes, heard his footsteps in the snow, heard a car door open, heard voices, his voice and another voice, a woman's voice, familiar in a way that made Sable's entire body go rigid. Okay, Kaeden said quietly, open them. Sable opened her eyes. A woman stood beside Kaeden, older, silver-haired where Sable's was dark, smaller, frailer. But the eyes were the exact same shade of brown that Sable saw in the mirror every morning. The pendant against Sable's chest flared so hot she gasped. Mom? The word came out broken. A child's word, a word she hadn't said in 20 years. Sable. Her mother's voice was exactly as she remembered. Soft, musical, home. My baby, my brave, beautiful baby. Sable's legs gave out. Her mother caught her. Or maybe Sable caught her mother. They collapsed into the snow together, clutching each other, sobbing so hard that breathing became optional. I'm sorry, her mother said into her hair. I'm so sorry. I thought I was protecting you by staying away. I didn't know you were looking for me. I thought you'd moved on. I never stopped looking. Sable pulled back, gripped her mother's face. She looked older, thinner. There were lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before. But she was alive. Real. Here. The pendant. I followed the pendant. I knew you weren't dead. I knew... You found the pendant. Her mother's hand covered Sable's where it rested against her chest. You went back to the pack vault. Oh, sweetheart, that was so dangerous. I didn't care. It was yours. It's always been yours. Her mother started crying again. Marshall had migrated to Kaeden's shoulder. This is beautiful. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed. I'm adding this to Chapter 37. How I facilitated the greatest reunion in history. You didn't facilitate anything, Kaeden said. You ate chocolate and complained. Emotional support is a valid form of facilitation. Kaeden looked down at Sable and her mother, 2 women in the snow, holding each other like they were the only real things in the world. I found her in Tibet, he said quietly. A monastery in the mountains. She's been there for 15 years, working, hiding, surviving. Sable's mother pulled back, wiped her eyes. He showed up 3 weeks ago. This man I'd never met, this alpha. And he said, her voice broke, he said my daughter had been searching for me, that she'd risked everything, that she needed me to come home. You were in Tibet. Sable looked up at Kaeden. You went to Tibet. I went to 7 countries. He crouched down beside them. I had trackers following the pendant's signature. It took 5 weeks, but I found her. Why? Sable's voice cracked. After I ran, after I embarrassed you in front of your entire pack, why would you do that? Because you're my mate. He said it simply, like it explained everything, like it was the only explanation needed. And mates don't let each other face the world alone. Her mother was looking between them with an expression Sable couldn't read. You found your mate. I found my mate. Sable's hand found Kaeden's, their fingers interlaced. And then I ran away from him like an idiot. You were scared, her mother said gently. I understand scared. I'm done being scared. Sable looked at Kaeden. If you'll still have me. There's no if. His hand tightened on hers. There's never been an if. Marshall made a sound like a squeaky sob. This is it. This is peak romance. It's all downhill from here. Nothing will ever top this moment. There's more, Kaeden said. Sable blinked. More? I investigated your past, your pack, your father. He helped both women to their feet. The snow was falling harder now, coating everything in white. Your father was an alpha, Daniel Everhart. He died before you were born in a territorial dispute with a rival pack. Her mother's hand tightened on Sable's. You found out about Daniel. The official records say he died in an accident, Kaeden continued, but pack records tell a different story. He was killed defending his territory. And your mother, he looked at Sable's mother, was his official mate, Luna of the Everhart pack. The words hit Sable like a physical blow. Luna? You were Luna? Her mother nodded slowly. For 3 years, before you were born, before everything fell apart. When your father died, Kaeden said, pack law dictated that his brother, Marcus Everhart, should become alpha. He wanted your mother to mate with him. Continue the Luna position. Consolidate power. I refused. Her mother's voice was steel. I was pregnant with you. I just lost my mate. And Marcus, she stopped. He wasn't a good man. The pack turned on her, Kaeden continued. Called her weak, said she was dishonoring your father's memory. When you were born and couldn't shift properly. They called me a curse, Sable said quietly. They called you convenient. Kaeden's voice had gone cold. A reason to strip your mother of her position. They took everything. The house, the title, the pack bonds. And when your mother tried to fight back, they exiled me. Her mother pulled her coat tighter. Said it was for Sable's protection. Said if I stayed, they'd... She stopped. I faked my death. Took the few things I could carry, left. The pendant, Sable whispered. They found me 2 years later, took it. Said it belonged to the pack, not to me. That I'd forfeited all rights when I chose to leave. Her mother touched Sable's face. They let me say goodbye to you once. One visit. Then they made sure I could never find you again. But I found you. Sable gripped her mother's hand. The pendant. It led me to you. Luna bonds don't break easily, her mother said. The pendant was passed down through my family. 3 generations of Lunas. That kind of magic doesn't fade just because someone steals it. Kaeden cleared his throat. I went to your old pack 3 weeks ago. Had a conversation with Marcus Everhart. You confronted Marcus? Her mother's face went pale. I'm an alpha. He's an alpha. We had an alpha-to-alpha discussion about pack law, theft, and the consequences of harming my mate's family. Kaeden's smile was sharp. It was very productive. What did you do? Sable asked. I explained that you are my mate, that you are under my pack's protection, that any charges against you would be considered an act of aggression against my entire pack. He shrugged. I also mentioned that your father's death was suspiciously convenient for Marcus, that the territorial dispute might warrant further investigation, and that I have lawyers who would be very interested in reviewing PAC records from that time period. Her mother's eyes went wide. You think Marcus killed Daniel? I think there are enough inconsistencies to ask questions. Kaeden looked at Sable. Marcus dropped all charges. You're free. Your mother is free. The pendant is legally yours. And Marcus has agreed to a formal apology and reparations. Reparations? Money. Territory. Official recognition that you are Daniel Everhart's legitimate heir, and your mother was rightfully Luna. Kaden's voice softened. Your mother has alpha bloodline, Sable, which means you do too. You're not just a rogue. You're displaced PAC royalty. The world tilted. Marshall chose that moment to pipe up. See? See? I told you that you were special. I told you. Chapter 42. How I knew she was royalty the whole time. You didn't know anything, Kaeden said. I intuited. Intuition counts. Sable couldn't breathe. What? You're the daughter of an alpha and a Luna. Kaeden stepped closer. Which means the PAC politics that made me choosing you. Complicated. No longer an issue. You're a suitable match by every traditional standard. I don't care about PAC politics. I know, but my father does. And the PAC Council does. And now they have no grounds to object. He cupped her face. Not that I would have cared if they did, but it makes things easier. Her mother was crying again. You did all this. For someone you barely know. I know her. Kaden's thumb wiped away a tear from Sable's cheek. I know she's brave enough to climb 45 stories to retrieve her mother's pendant. I know she runs when she's scared, but always comes back. I know she has a guinea pig who wants to be a motivational speaker, and she enables his chocolate addiction. I know she's my mate. That's all I need to know. Sable threw her arms around his neck. He caught her, held her, let her cry into his expensive coat while snow fell around them, and her mother cried, and Marshall provided running commentary about romance and destiny and his forthcoming book deal. I'm sorry I ran, Sable said into his shoulder. I'm sorry I let you. His arms tightened around her. It won't happen again. How can you be sure? Because next time I'm running with you. He pulled back to look at her. We're a team, mates, partners. Where you go, I go, May. Even if I want to live in a tiny town in Montana with expired cereal and no chocolate, Marshall made a sound of horror. Please say no, please, I'm begging you. Kaeden smiled. Even then. But I'm hoping you'll consider coming home instead. Home? My PAC, our PAC, your mother is welcome too. I've already set up housing. She can teach if she wants. We need someone with Luna training for the younger PAC members. Or she can just rest. Whatever she needs. Sable looked at her mother. What do you think? Her mother's smile was watery but real. I think we've been running long enough, both of us. Then I'm coming home. Sable looked at Kaeden. We're coming home. Marshall threw his tiny paws in the air. Finally. Do you know how long I've been waiting for this moment? 73 days. I counted. Every single day without chocolate or proper emotional resolution. It's been 61 days, Kaeden said. Emotional days are longer. They have extra hours. Kaeden kissed Sable, right there in the snow with her mother watching, and Marshall providing commentary, and the entire town probably peeking through curtains at the expensive car and the well-dressed man and the crying women. It was perfect. When they finally pulled apart, Sable was smiling. Actually smiling, for the first time in 2 months. I have one condition, she said. Anything. Marshall gets unlimited chocolate. Marshall gasped. This is the best day of my life. Write that down. December 15th. The day Marshall Sterling achieved enlightenment. Noted. Kaeden looked at Sable's mother. Shall we get out of the snow? I've booked rooms at the hotel in the next town over. Actual rooms with heat and food that isn't expired. Please, her mother said. I've been living in a monastery for 15 years. I'm ready for modern plumbing. They walked to the car together, Sable's mother on one side, Kaeden on the other. Marshall had settled into Sable's pocket, already making lists of chocolate brands he wanted to try. Before getting in the car, Sable looked back at the tiny rented room. at the life she'd been building out of fear and survival instinct. "Any regrets?" Kaeden asked quietly. She touched the pendant at her throat, felt its warmth, felt her mother's hand in hers, felt Kaeden's solid presence beside her. "None," she said, and she meant it. Epilogue. 6 months later, the House of Dusk had a new wing. Sable stood in the freshly painted hallway, clipboard in hand, making notes about furniture, placement, and accessibility requirements. Behind her, Carlos was directing a team of workers installing handrails that actually met current safety codes instead of the rusty death traps that had been there before. "Left side needs to be 2 inches higher," Carlos called out. "We have residents who use walkers. Regulations specify—" "I know the regulations," one of the workers said. "I was at the training session you made us all sit through." "Good, then you know quality matters." Sable smiled. Carlos had taken to his official position as director of facilities with the same intensity he'd brought to art theft. Turned out that obsessive attention to detail worked just as well for legal employment as it did for crime. The Rothko hung in the main gathering room now, officially donated by Kaeden Hawke with a plaque that read, "In honor of those who gave everything to their packs and received little in return." Carlos had cried when he saw it. Footsteps behind her. Familiar. Her wolf perked up before her brain caught up. "You're supposed to be at the office," she said without turning around. "I was at the office." Kaeden's arms slid around her waist from behind. "Then I remembered my mate was here and the office seemed significantly less interesting. You're going to give Sean an aneurysm if you keep leaving early. Sean left 3 hours ago to meet Kate for coffee." Kaeden pressed a kiss to her neck. "Which is what they're calling it this week. They're still pretending they're not together? Kate says they're exploring a friendship with potential romantic undertones. Sean says he's being professionally appropriate. My mother has started a betting pool on when they'll admit it." Sable turned in his arms. "Your mother is betting on your sister's love life?" "My mother is betting against my father, who thinks it'll take another 6 months. She thinks 3 weeks. Kaeden smiled. "I have money on 2 weeks." "That's your sister." "That's a sure bet." Down the hallway, an older woman emerged from one of the resident rooms. Sable's mother. She'd taken to teaching at the PAC school 3 days a week and spending the other 2 at the House of Dusk, leading a Luna Traditions class for elderly PAC members who wanted to reconnect with their roots. She looked healthy now. The gauntness had filled out. The shadows under her eyes had faded. She smiled more. "Sable, we're ready for you in the common room," her mother called. "The new residents want to meet their liaison." "I'll be right there." Her mother disappeared back into the room. Kaeden's arms stayed around Sable's waist. "You're happy," he said. It wasn't a question. "I'm happy." "Good." He kissed her forehead. "I have something to show you later. At home." "What kind of something?" "The kind you have to see to understand." "That's ominous." "That's a surprise." His eyes crinkled at the corners. "Trust me?" "Always." That evening, Kaeden led Sable into his office. Their office now, since she'd taken over half the space with files about the House of Dusk and 3 different notebooks full of funding strategies. "Close your eyes," he said. Again with the eye closing. "It worked last time." She closed her eyes, heard rustling, movement, the sound of something heavy being set down. "Okay," Kaeden said. "Open." On his desk sat a painting, not the Rothko, something new. A portrait. Of her. Sable moved closer, her breath catching. The painting showed her suspended outside a building, 45 stories up. Harness straps cutting across her jumpsuit, window squeegee in one hand, the other hand reaching toward the glass. Her face was turned slightly, looking over her shoulder, and the artist had captured the exact expression she wore when Marshall told one of his ridiculous stories. Half exasperated, half fond. And on her shoulder, painted in meticulous detail, sat a small brown guinea pig with an absurdly self-important expression. "Kaeden," she whispered. "I commissioned it 3 months ago," he said. "From that artist Kate knows. The one who specializes in contemporary realism. This is—" She couldn't finish the sentence. "You, exactly as I saw you that first day." He moved to stand beside her. Brave, terrified, determined, beautiful, with a guinea pig who wouldn't stop talking about OSHA regulations. "Where's Marshall?" Sable asked suddenly. "Kate's apartment. She's testing chocolate pairings with him. Something about developing his refined palate for his book tour." His book tour? He signed with a publisher last week. Did he not tell you? Marshall signed a book deal? Advance was $50,000. He immediately spent $3,000 on premium chocolate. Kaeden grinned. "His agent is a very stressed-out woman who keeps calling me to ask if guinea pigs can legally sign contracts." Sable started laughing. Couldn't stop. Laughed until tears ran down her face and Kaeden was holding her up. "He's going to be insufferable," she gasped. "He's already insufferable. Now he's insufferable with a book deal." "I'm so proud of him." "So am I." Kaeden turned her to face him. "But I didn't bring you here just to show you the painting." "No?" "No." He reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out a small box. Sable's heart stopped. "I know we're already mated," Kaeden said. "The bond is complete. You're mine and I'm yours in every way that matters. But I wanted—" He opened the box. Inside was a ring. Simple, elegant. A single diamond that caught the light and threw rainbows. "I wanted to ask anyway because you deserve to be asked. You deserve the choice." Kaeden. Sable Everhart, daughter of an alpha. Rogue who climbed 45 stories for her mother's pendant. Woman who crashed through my balcony and changed my entire life. "Will you marry me?" She was crying again, happy tears this time. "Yes," she said. "Yes, yes, yes." He slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. He kissed her, long and deep and thorough. The kind of kiss that promised forever and meant it. When they finally pulled apart, Sable was smiling so hard her face hurt. "I love you," she said. "I know I haven't said it yet. I was scared. But I love you. I think I loved you from the moment you caught me when I fell. I loved you from the moment you told me Gerald the anxious penguin wasn't a real story," Kaeden said. "Any woman who can call out Marshall's bullshit is a woman worth keeping. That's the least romantic thing you've ever said. I'm saving the romantic speech for the wedding." "When's the wedding?" "Whenever you want, tomorrow, next year, I don't care. You're already mine." He pulled her close. "But I'm hoping for sooner rather than later. My mother has already started planning." "Of course she has. She has a binder." Oh, God. 3 binders. "We're doomed." "Completely." He kissed her again. "But we're doomed together." From somewhere in the house, Sable's phone buzzed. A text from Kate. "Marshall says to tell you that Chapter 47 of his book is titled, 'How I Orchestrated the Greatest Love Story of Our Generation,' and he expects to be best guinea pig at the wedding." His words, not mine. Also, he's eaten 9 truffles and won't stop singing in what he claims is Italian. Sable showed the text to Kaeden. "Best guinea pig," he read. "Not best man, best guinea pig." He's technically not a man. "Fair point." Kaeden pulled out his phone, typed a response. "Done. He's officially best guinea pig." "Your groomsmen are going to be so confused." "My groomsmen can deal with it." He pocketed his phone. "Now, how do you feel about celebrating our engagement by ordering extremely expensive takeout and watching terrible reality TV? That's the most romantic thing you've ever said." "I'm a complex man." They ordered Thai food, watched 3 episodes of a show about people who bought tiny houses and immediately regretted it. Marshall came home around midnight, riding on Kate's shoulder, singing something that might have been opera, but was probably just chocolate-induced hysteria. "I have news," he announced, launching himself onto the couch between Sable and Kaeden. Kate and Sean kissed. I witnessed it. It was very passionate. Also very awkward because they did it in the parking lot and a security guard asked if they needed medical attention. "Called it," Kaeden said. "I win the bet." "You're betting on your sister," Sable said. "And I'm winning." Marshall climbed into Sable's lap, noticed the ring, and let out a shriek that probably woke the neighbors. "Is that, are you, did he?" Marshall was vibrating with excitement. This is chapter 50. This is the finale. This is the moment I've been building to. It's our engagement, Sable said. Not your book. It's both. Everything is material. I have editors now. They're very excited about the tiny life coach guide's human through trauma angle. Marshall settled into her lap, his small body warm and familiar. Also, I get to be best guinea pig. This is the greatest honor of my life. Greater than the book deal? Kaeden asked. The book deal is professional. This is personal. Marshall looked up at Sable with those small, dark eyes that had seen her at her worst and stayed anyway. You're my human. Have been since day one. I'm honored to be your best guinea pig. Sable's throat went tight. Marshall. Also, I expect premium chocolate at the reception, and a tiny tuxedo, and a podium for my best guinea pig speech. Of course you do. I have it outlined already. Very moving. There won't be a dry eye in the house. Kaeden wrapped his arm around Sable's shoulders. Marshall curled up in her lap. The terrible reality TV show played in the background. Thai food containers littered the coffee table. It was perfect. 2 months ago, Sable had been counting money in a tiny room in Montana, convinced she'd lost everything that mattered. Now she was here, engaged, surrounded by family, chosen and found. Her mother was healthy and safe. Carlos was thriving in his legal employment. Marshall had a book deal and a chocolate addiction and a tuxedo fitting scheduled for next week. She was home. Hey, Kaeden said quietly. You okay? I'm better than okay. She leaned into him. I'm happy. Good. He kissed the top of her head. That's all I ever wanted. Marshall started snoring softly. The TV droned on. Snow began to fall outside the window. Soft and gentle this time, not the harsh Montana storm variety. And Sable thought about fairy tales, about Cinderella and glass slippers and princes who didn't give up, about the stories that told you to wait for rescue, and about the better stories, the real ones, where you rescued yourself and found someone willing to run with you instead, where the princess climbed buildings and crashed through balconies and ran away in her work boots, where the prince chased her across 7 countries and brought her mother home, where the sidekick got a book deal and demanded premium chocolate, where the ending wasn't perfect, but it was real. And real was so much better than perfect. You've been listening to Wolf on 45th, written by D.N. Leo, narrated by Jessica Lee. So, did she climb? Did the alpha let her go? And what exactly did Safety Marshal Sterling say in that TED Talk? I hope you love this story of fate, fear, and a guinea pig with a safety certification. If you did, please hit that like button, share this with someone who needs more shifter chaos in their life, and drop a comment below. Your support is what makes these stories possible, and what convinces D.N. Leo to write more ridiculous guinea pig dialogue. Speaking of which, if you haven't grabbed Marshall's complete TED Talk transcript yet, what are you waiting for? It's linked in the description and pinned in the first comment. Trust me, it's worth it just for his thoughts on OSHA compliance and emotional vulnerability. Want to see your story idea come to life next? Comment below with your wildest shifter romance premise. D.N. Leo reads every single one. Who knows? Your idea might be the next story we tell. Thank you for listening. Thank you for climbing 45 stories with us. Now go be brave, even when you're shaking. Until next time, stay wild, stay safe, and maybe listen to your guinea pig. He's usually right.